students, here we will be continuing with the topic heredity and evolution, and it's part 5 and the final part of this topic. So we need to understand evolution stage by stage now. So how eyes developed, legs developed, other parts of the organs developed, and with respect to the species and the variations. So let's start with the video now. So let's see evolution by stages. So what happened is complex organisms and its organs got developed from simpler organisms. So as I told that simpler organisms always relate to the ground or the species that remain under the ground, and complex organisms, they are who we are now. They are all the species that exist on this earth or above the ground. So here we can see that complex organisms, they have already been formed from the simpler organisms. So by gradually over the generations. So now we need to see how evolution of eyes has happened. So you can see that eyes of planaria were just a spot of eye. Why? Because they needed to only detect the light. So it was the first development. So it developed gradually into the complex organisms in higher animals. So let's understand about evolution of feathers. Actually, feathers were the first thing that was found in the dinosaurs. Why the feathers were given to the dinosaurs was they needed to be comfortable with respect to the cold. So later the birds used them for flying. So you can see that how these changes or evolutions has happened with respect to the eyes and the feathers. So eyes for planaria were just for the light, to detect the light, and feathers for extreme cold conditions was initially found in the dinosaurs. So later on it was just developed by generations and stages to the higher animals. So next, so you can see these how these developments have taken place. So it's dinosaurs of planaria here. Planaria have small eyes. So it was only for the light detection. Here the dinosaurs were given the feathers to protect from cold, not for flying. So later on you can see that development of eyes, and the birds have wings for flying. So next. So how evolution has happened by artificial selection. What does artificial selection means? It is not through the generations. We human beings have done some experiments to cultivate certain vegetables or greens. So let's see that humans cultivated wild cabbage over 2000 years ago and produced different vegetables from the base cabbage. So how cabbage was selected was by selecting short distance. So selecting short distance between the leaves. So from this cabbage, the other related species of the cabbage came into existence. So let's see that now. So cauliflower, it was by selecting the sterile flowers. So cauliflower was cultivated. Then kale, so it was by selecting the large leaves, this plant was produced. So next comes the kohlrabi, or you can see the knoll kohl. So by selecting the swollen stem, you can see it's a swollen stem. You can see that from that it was further, we can see this vegetable till now. And broccoli, so by arresting the flower growth. Flower growth was not made to happen, and the flower growth was stopped in between. So you can see the broccoli as the greens. So next comes the embryology. So at the embryo stages, you can see all are in the tadpole shape, irrespective of the species they are. So either it might be Pisces, tortoise, chicken, rabbit, or human. So further, see here you can see the tadpole shape. Then you can see the changes, slightly changes in the cycle of the living beings has taken place, and finally there is a change in the developmental stages with respect to the species. So next. So evolution cannot be equated with respect to progress. Why it cannot be equated with respect to progress is evolution has not related to progress. Why? Because evolution has made certain species to become adapted to certain living conditions, and also some species have become new, or their development have become or given rise to new species. So there is no progress in that, but you can see that complex species have been developed from simple species due to variations, genetic drift and natural selection, as we have seen in the previous video. So this does not mean that one species gets eliminated when new species are formed. Why the species get eliminated is because they are not able to get adjusted to the environment they live in. Then only that particular species become extinct. So next we can see that several species which could adapt to changes in the environment, they continue to survive. As on, we can see now that bacteria is still alive. So human beings, as we say that we are come from the ancestors of chimpanzees, it's not true. We have not evolved from chimpanzees, but you can see that common ancestor. So common ancestor for human being and chimpanzees are the same, so which they evolved as separately later. So human beings are not pinnacle of evolution. So they are also called as one species among several evolving species. We are considered as one species among the rest of the species across the world. So next. So now we will see about human evolution. So scientific name for human beings is Homo sapiens. So it is a great diversity that we human beings are spread out, and we have a lot of reach across the geographic area, and most of the people have their own living conditions and adaptations. So let's see that human beings evolved in Africa. So all the human beings evolved in Africa. Some of them still stayed in Africa and their ancestors remain the same. Gene flow also remains the same. Some of them who shifted from Africa and they have got distributed across the world. You can see that wide range of people and their habitats, way of living, and the genetic drift that has occurred is different with respect to the human beings as we evolved in Africa. So due to genetic variations, environmental changes and different geographical regions developed in their forms and features, we can see that human beings, we all live across the world and we differ from each other. So this is the evolution of the human being. So initially it was Lucy, was just 3 foot tall chimpanzee. So later on it was Heidelberg man, built by, that was considered by many quite human beings. So Nebraska man, so scientifically built up from one tooth, and you can see later found to be tooth of the extinct pig. So it was Nebraska's man was with only one tooth, which goes back with relation to the pig. So Piltdown man, a jawbone, turned out to belong to modern ape. You can see that there is so much of variation that has happened before the modern man is now existing. So Peking man, so mostly 5 lakh years before, but evidence is not there, it has got disappeared. Next comes the Neanderthal man, next New Guinea man, Cro-Magnon man, and the modern man. So that's all about this topic, heredity and evolution. So thank you all for watching this video.